Arguments kind of go back and forth on the quality of Atlas's writing. But if one thing is clear, there's a lot of characters that do stick in people's minds. Sometimes to their benefit, and other times to their detriment. But today, I want to focus on one particular character, and that character is Dr. Takuto Maruki.
And Dr. what's his name?
Maruki is one of those characters who's pretty easy to discuss. There are a lot of layers to his character that most antagonists of Persona 5 kinda don't really have. From start to finish of the vanilla game, Persona 5's villains are all horrible people with horrible intentions. They're selfish and will only be satisfied with what's good for them. Maruki, in this regard, is very different because he's a character who wants everyone to be happy.
That's because my goal is to save everyone in the world like Yoshizawa-san by ending all suffering.
His goals are not outwardly evil, and his intentions are good. Which is, again, very different from P5's other antagonists, who are pretty much evil from head to toe.
I'm allowed to do whatever the hell I want!
If you played vanilla P5, Maruki's addition is interesting because you know for sure that he'll be involved in the Royal Arc. More likely as a villain than anything else. And even if you didn't, it's not that big of a twist that he's the palace ruler in Royal. He is pretty upfront about what he desires and what he wants to do.
Although it's not like this is the last time we'll see one another, still, thank you for everything up to this point.
If you do, then I'll...
So why does Maruki have a palace? What makes his desires twisted? Maruki's desire, his true desire, is to end all suffering. Now that may not sound bad, but it kind of is. Ending all suffering is generally a nice idea. No more hunger, no more pain, no more losing. If we suspend all disbelief, then this is entirely possible through the power of Maruki's persona. Even if there are things that don't make sense, like what happens when someone has to die, if no one can suffer, how do you create competitions, and who gets their desires over another. If we toss all of that to the side, then sure, it's possible. And you can assume that through some magical persona nonsense that Maruki is able to account for all of these issues. But if this idea is nice and it's good, then what makes his desire twisted, or distorted, if you will?
A place where distorted desires manifest. We're asking if you're the source of the desires here.
I think it's that this idea and this goal that Maruki's trying to get to, his desire, impedes the ability to choose and also impedes the growth of human beings. Suffering, even at a minimal level, apparently does not exist in Maruki's reality. Without any sort of conflict or roadblock, people do not grow. If everything you did in life worked out, with no consequences, would you ever see a reason to change? So as long as you're happy, I don't think there would be a need, or you would see a need to change your ways, because that's just how we are as people. Maruki is still imposing his will over everyone else's as well. Logically, if he were to be making every decision, you don't have free will. Every choice you make is being made by him. He is deciding what is best for you.
Remaining in this Maruki revised reality means living under his thumb forever.
In a way, he's doing what Yaldabaoth was trying to do, without the removal of all emotion. Funnily enough, what makes him so different from your average end-all-suffering JRPG antagonist is that he still wants emotion to exist, but for it to pretty much only be happiness.
But no matter what you may think of me, I just want you all to accept this reality and move on with your happy lives.
And is that the same or different from removing all emotion? I would argue that it is technically a little bit different, but it still is something that would technically make his desires kind of twisted. Maruki is twisted, but not in the same sense as previous antagonists, is basically what I'm trying to say. His desires are distorted because he is playing God over humanity. You know, kind of makes him the same as the antagonists we've seen so far, who are playing God or using their power over another group of people.
That's how I've lived up to now, and it's going to continue from here till the end.
There's one other thing. Maruki claims that he wants to rid the world of its suffering so that everyone can be happy. So why is the BGM for this new reality so somber? On one hand, it's probably because the happiness is false. This new, so happy world exists, but they aren't really happy. It's just them being controlled into being happy, because technically good things are happening to them, and their lives are all perfect. This is just Maruki imposing his desires on people, basically forcing them to be happy again. Or at least that's the way I interpret it. I'm not a musical analyst for this. On the other hand, I think it also circles back to Maruki himself. Is everyone happy, or is it everyone except him? The more you learn about him, Maruki has basically sacrificed his own relationships for the sake of this happy world.
Really? But what about your girlfriend?
She's passed away. That's why I won't be coming here anymore.
Rumi is a big one, but even when you choose to accept his reality in the ending, the Phantom Thieves no longer know who he is. Is Maruki happy at this point, or is he playing his role? He may be happy that he accomplished his goal, but that doesn't mean he isn't still suffering in some capacity. I mean, you have to look at the guy who just gave up everything for the sake of his end goal and his distorted desire. Does that make him happy? I can't say for sure. The somberness of So Happy World is interesting to me because you'd think in a happy world, the BGM would be something like this.
Follow me. The shop can be pretty confusing to find sometimes.
But instead, it's kind of a sad tune that sets the tone for this false happiness.
I have nothing but gratitude for you. Not a single ounce of ill will. That's why I wanted you, of all people, to understand.
And I think it kind of sounds like I'm painting Doc as an evil character, which he isn't. I think given the choice of picking between a happy world versus the one we live in today would be a difficult choice for a lot of people. For a lot of people, the desire to grow and change isn't something they're super interested in. It's not something they make a conscious decision about sometimes either. So I think people might choose the happy world, and some might choose to live in the world they live in now.
And you assume we'll buy into your brainwashing and just live in the palm of your hand.
But basically, Maruki isn't inherently evil, but he is misguided. He's a therapist, and my understanding of therapy is that it's not about someone giving you the solutions to your problem. It's about finding a path forward. Your therapist isn't forcing a solution onto you. They're trying to steer you in a direction that maybe will help you look at the problem from a different angle, or look at things in general from a different angle. They assist you in understanding yourself and the problems you're having so that you can find a healthy way to move forward. I think, at least. Again, this is kind of anecdotal experience. It's not something that I've studied and learned, I guess. I'm not sure if this is the true goal of therapy, but it feels like that's basically what it kind of is. And that idea to me seems a lot healthier and more productive than someone making the executive decisions for you. You should do this. You have to do this. You have to push yourself forward doing this specifically. I am going to do this so that it makes it better for you. Instead of, maybe you should try this. Maybe you should look at this from a different angle. Have you ever considered this idea instead? Kind of pushing you in a different direction, maybe pushing you towards a certain idea, but not forcing you to go with that path if you don't want to. So again, he's misguided, and that's why in the end, his change of heart and profession is so good. So again, he's misguided, and that's why in the end, his change of heart and change of profession is so good. He becomes a taxi driver, someone responsible for taking people to their next destination, but they decide where they're going, not him. So while there still will be suffering and people may not always be happy, Maruki will take them to their next destination without blocking them from growing and learning. In the end, he turns into a person who still might be listening to people's problems and listening to them talk about their problems, but he's not forcing a solution upon them or forcing his will on them. He's simply taking them to where they want to go or where they have to go, and no more than that. So thank you for listening to my ramblings about probably one of my favorite characters in Persona 5. If you have any thoughts about Maruki, you can leave them down in the comments below, maybe about his intentions, his happy world, or his character, just in general. As always, you can leave a like if you enjoyed the video, and subscribe to the channel for more things Atlas, JRPG, and Persona related. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.
Wider. Can you take it? Elusive deity. Rotating pile driver. I'll grind you into dust. Elusive deity. Tornado.